Hey everybody, this is Mike from Mike's Dark Helmet Minecraft server, and this is the second video in a tutorial series for Prism. Prism is a brand new rollback and grief management plugin for Bucket servers. Now, I hope you've already watched the first video because we covered lookups, the near command, and the inspector wand. More of finding the information. Now we're going to look at the basics of previewing, rolling stuff back. If you've watched the first video, you'll remember that we have specific parameters. Parameters are things that really help us define exactly what we want to see or what we want to roll back. So if you'll remember, in the first video, there was a fire. Now, we looked up, let me clear that grid there. There was a fire here, and using the lookup tools, we figured out who it was, what they did. They used a lighter. They set fire. Now, the fire, luckily, didn't burn down this entire jungle. Prism could handle that just fine, by the way. But the fire burned a couple trees, I don't know, maybe one or two trees, two or three. And now we actually need to restore the event. The nice thing is that Prism uses a rollback command. It uses a restore command, and those do the exact opposite. When you roll something back, you essentially undo what some player did. So somebody set a fire, and the fire burned, and a rollback would reverse that. It would restore the tree and the leaves that had been here. If somehow your rollback was a mistake and you need to reapply the changes, say somebody was digging out a house, you thought it was a grief, you roll it back by accident, you can easily reapply that. Now, one of the areas that Prism really excels in is that you can preview both of those. Now, a preview mode is safer because it only shows you the changes. So I can say Prism preview. I can say RB for rollback, or I can actually type out rollback. And I want to preview an action, so the burn event. Now, what this is going to do is it queries the database, pulls the results, and it shows it just to me. The sheep have no idea that I'm working on this preview. Other players won't see that I'm working on a preview. It'll still look like a burned out area. If I like what I see, I can just do Prism, Preview, Apply. If I don't like what I see, I can do Cancel. The great thing about this is that sometimes a rollback isn't going to do exactly what you hope it does. And it's just because you need to tweak your parameters and kind of get things filtered correctly. Now, if you leave it, the preview will automatically expire after a minute. So if you forget that you've got the preview pending, it'll cancel out after a minute. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit cancel. Oops, if I could type it correctly. So I cancel the preview. So we still have this area to deal with. The nice thing is the rollback command takes the exact same parameters. They're absolutely no different. So I can do a direct rollback. Done. 241 reversals done in 133 milliseconds. One of the things that you'll notice is that Prism is typically extremely fast. It's been designed to be efficient and fast. Now, 241 reversals really isn't that many. We've been heavily testing it with 9,000 reversals. But that's the point. So we roll back. We use the action to do it. So let's say a player comes by digging this stuff. All right, those are block breaks. Now, if I use the inspector wand again, you can see the player broke the grass. Right, that's all that happens. So we can say Prism roll back. I can say block break, or I can just say break. And we'll talk about the differences momentarily. So, okay, I roll back what the player did. Let's say, let's get some TNT, and I already have a lighter. Let's go over here. Don't hate me for this. Whoops, I still have the inspector wand turned on. There we go. Sorry, chicken. I know, I'm cruel. Okay, so we have an explosion. Now again, you can say Prism near. That's going to show you quite a bit of information. TNT blew up dirt, grass, etc. If you want to figure out who actually lit the TNT, I believe we can look that up with a prime. There we go. All right, so you can see who actually primed that TNT, who set it off. Do remember that there are different ways of setting off TNT, so if you don't see anything with that, also look for somebody placing a redstone torch or pouring lava or something like that. So you'll notice that we've got this huge crater and we have a dead chicken. Well, neither of those are a problem. So first of all, I can say rollback A explode. Now there are two different types of explosions. There are creeper explosions and TNT explosions. When I use explode, it means both of them. When I use TNT-explode, that means I'm being very specific. Now, normally it doesn't matter which you use. You can use TNT explode or just explode. Typically, if you're going to roll back an explosion, you're going to want to roll back a creeper explosion at the same time, so it's not a big deal. There are some circumstances where you want to undo a very specific set of events. So in this case, the default radius is 10 blocks. Let's say I'm not quite comfortable that that's big enough. I can say rollback A explode R20. Okay. Everything's back. Except my chicken. Where'd my chicken go? So let's do a lookup. Let's say the action is kill and the entity is chicken. So the TNT killed a chicken. Poor chicken. Well, let's do this. Let's bring him back to life. Let's do the same thing. Prism roll back, A kill. Just to be safe, let's say E chicken. You never know. Maybe there's a creeper nearby who was killed by a player. You don't want to bring the creeper back to life. So Prism roll back, A kill, E chicken. There he is. Hey buddy, welcome back. So that's one of the other amazing things out of a whole list of amazing things. Prism will actually let you roll back entities. Now the nice thing about this is you can roll back sheep with their colors. You can roll back animals as babies or adults, whichever they happen to be. Villagers will properly roll back to the correct profession. There's a whole range of stuff. Wolves will properly come back tamed if they were tamed originally. So, you know, if somebody comes by and slaughters your cow, well, Prism near it. Yep, there you go. Killed cow, picked up raw beef and leather. Now I can undo that cow if I want it. So rolling back is merely just using rollback instead of L. The parameters are always the same. It takes the exact same parameters. Now, one of the things that is difficult to really convey in writing, but it's easier to show, is that there are different events that are often related. So I'll come out digging. So let's look at this. It says Prism near. So we've got me breaking a block, but it's also showing that I broke sugarcane on top of that. Now, one of the things to understand, Prism always looks for related activities. If you're going to break a block and there's something attached to it that's going to pop off, Prism realizes this. So if I do roll back a break, the sugar cane comes back exactly as it was, whether it's 3 blocks tall or 2 blocks tall. You could do it with grass, whatever. So let's ignite some TNT here. You'll notice there's grass, long grass on top of the grass. Now, one of the things that happens is sometimes the TNT isn't actually exploding all those blocks. Sometimes it's exploding most of them, but what happens is there's actually a break event that's triggered when, say, long grass pops off. Now, sometimes it just depends on the placement of the TNT. Sometimes it doesn't happen. So let's do a look for break. Okay, so there we go. We have an explode event, but we also have 14 different break events. This is something that we call a relationship, a causality relationship. The action of exploding causes something to break. Now, when I'm doing a rollback, and this is important to note, I can say rollback A explode, but I also should always default to break. Now, there are different types of breaks, so I'll just be specific for example purposes and say A explode, comma, block break. That's one of the other things about Prism. For almost all of the parameters, you can provide multiple values. So A, explode, comma, break, or players, A, comma, B, Bob, comma, Sally. So if I say explode, block, break, it's going to pull both results. It's going to say, let's do the block breaks and the exploded blocks. And that essentially brings back everything that had been destroyed by that TNT. Now, that's something that sometimes we could do automatically, but it is best left for you to do manually. And it's not really hard once you kind of get used to it. You know that a burn event or a block event is also going to cause a break event. So now let's look at restoring. Let's say that some player is over here digging up grass, all right? You can roll it back, Prism, roll back, a break, radius 5. Oh no, that player was actually okay. They weren't griefing. Let's restore it. And this can be seen essentially as an undo feature, even though we are working on a separate undo feature. So rolling back and restoring are almost the exact same things. They're just reversed. We're still applying all the same logic. The parameters are all the same. Pretty much everything is the same between them, except one is putting a block back when the other one is taking it away. So if I realize that this player was totally okay and was supposed to be digging, I don't want to have to make them re-dig the area. So I'll just do the same, right? Restore a break, radius 5. That restores the changes that were made here. That's pretty simple, right? So there are a few more things to talk about with rollbacks. There are things that we call flags, and I'll go into more detail about the action list, but I'm going to save that for the next series. So we covered previews, we covered rollbacks, and we covered restores. I hope that helped. Thanks for watching.